Hi, my name is Lunga Mazeka.
And I am Buhle Mazeka.
We are husband and wife,
Of course we are.
and we are here to share with you our experience, our journey in our marriage. Yeah, and questions have been given to us by our host, Anna, and we'll see how we will go about answering them. Hopefully, we will do a good job. Let's begin.
Cool.
So, do you want to read us the first question?
The first one is, where are you currently, as in our country?
Oh, okay. We are currently in Australia, in New South Wales, the state of New South Wales, and in a town, little country town called Currumbin.
Yeah. Because that's where your uni is.
Yeah, that's what I'm studying. Just before this, we were living in Sydney, not too long ago actually. Just we moved up here during the lockdown, as in it's just the early stages of the lockdown. It's been quite a good experience so far.
Cool. So they want to know how we met. How did we meet?
Okay, we met in Adelaide, South Australia. That's my home state, away from home, South Africa. So Buhle came to my church. She was attending my home church because before that she was based in the Northern Territory, and she came down to Adelaide to study nursing at Flinders University. So she was attending my church for some time. That's how I met her. And for from 2013 until 2016, she was just a familiar face, but we had no connection whatsoever. We would do your occasional hi, how are you? I'd say hi to her and she'd respond to me, and that was pretty much it. And in 2016 or 15, 15 actually asked you to sing with me.
Oh yeah.
So I asked her to sing with me, and then again I asked her to sing with me, and then again, and then the final straw was 2016. I actually asked Buhle to sing with me, and she agreed. And during our first practice, we actually did more talking, as in socializing, than practicing. So that's when we started to really get to know each other, inquire into each other's lives and so forth. And then our second practice, we went even deeper with that. I actually had feelings for her during the time when I was quietly observing her in City Church, in the ins and outs. But because I had made a commitment to God, between me and God, that I would not pursue any relationship unless He actually directs the person to me, because I did not trust myself, and so I just wanted God to take care of the situation. If He had someone for me, for Him to direct that person to me, and that's how I would know that it's actually from Him and not just my own desires. And so, do you want to interject, or do you want me to keep going here? I don't want to take the whole.
Well, yeah, you can say till your end part.
Okay. My commitment, of course, I intended to really stick to it. Although it was tough, I was really, she's the kind of personality that I was really attracted to. She was quiet, and she just kept to herself, and she was really simple and just natural, and she carried herself really well, and so I was just quite. I felt drawn to just the kind of person she was, but I could not make any advances because of my commitment to God. And then during our last practice, or after the concert, when was it?
Yeah.
It was after the concert that we the church concert we had performed at. She told me that she was going to send me a long text, and so.
Can I, before you say that part, the reason why I told him that I was going to send the text was because I had been praying to God prior to him asking me to sing for that concert. I've been praying to God to put people in my life that were going to enhance it spiritually. And so he had come as an answer to prayer, but then at that moment it was just an answer. He was just one of those people that God had sent in my life. But then as we began talking and, you know, we just dug deep into each other's lives and we started to learn more, I began to question why exactly he was in my life. And because he had done some things, the main reason why I just thought he was just an extraordinary addition to my life was because that was around the time in 2016, right? Yeah, in 2016, where there were these heavy rains in South Australia, and the whole state had a day. Like, we had a moment where we had a massive blackout, so we lost electricity and everything else. And then this particular day when this had happened, we had planned that we were gonna just meet up and hang out somewhere in the city. But because of this blackout, I wasn't able to go to the city and I didn't have a car. But then he did. So he decided that he was still gonna come and see me where I was living. And this was like, there was no electricity, there was no traffic lights, there was nothing. It was really dark and roads were flooded, and he decided that he was gonna come see me. So after that day, and then he came to uni, and then we hung out. I remember we were just sitting in the car, we're talking, listening to music, and you offered me like an apple and some like peanuts and cake that somebody had made for you. And you sat with me, and he sat with me till the lights came back on, and that was like late because you just wait, because I was cold. There was no anywhere else to go because there was no electricity, so he had the heater in his car. So after that day, then I was just asking God, why is this guy in my life? He's not just some random guy. He's very different. You know, the way he talked, the way he presented himself, the information that he had within him was just extraordinary to me. It was very different. So I remember going back to God and asking for clarification and wondering why this guy was in my life. So the last day that we were essentially going to see each other, which was after that concert, I then told him I was going to send him a text because I just was trying to figure out what it was that he was doing, because not many people would do such things, you know, those grand gestures. For me, that was grand, that he drove, you know, in the middle of a blackout. So that was the text that I was going to send him to find out what his intentions were in my life. Why was he there? What was he doing? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But even more than that, you already had a confirmation from God, right? Because you had been praying for a while before. Yeah. So it's not like you're just trying to inquire. Yeah. So and so the very important thing, you know, that really caught my attention about the text when Buhle had sent it to me. Of course, she told me she had been praying and she had asked for God. She said a number of specific things, you know, that she had prayed about. One of them was she asked God, due to her shyness and everything, she was shy, kept to herself, and so she didn't take part much in church. And so she had actually prayed to God and asked him to just enable her to to become more involved in church activities and so forth. And sure enough, when I asked her to sing with me, that enabled her to actually become involved. And of course, when we caught up as well, just our interaction and our conversation was just almost all about God. And so I was sharing testimonies, and we were sharing videos about people sharing their testimonies with others, reaching out and so forth. Songs and everything. Yeah. And so what came out of that was something, just another confirmation to her from God. She felt was met, was realized. And so and she then sent me the text, and she told me all those things at prayer, and she believed that she had just seen the answer to her prayers. And long story short, because we don't want to spend too much time on this question, and we already have. So she and I already had feelings for her, but she and I were so into inquiring whether this was God's will or not. She was already sure based on the things that she had seen, but we both agreed that we're going to continue talking and pray with each other and and then she was going to help me to pray and find confirmation from God if this was His will or not. And I told her about also my commitment to God and so forth, and that I was really into this to look more into it, because it seems like it's lining up with my prayer, what I had prayed to God, and how I would know that that He had sent that the person was for me is if He sent them to me. And so for the next about 6 months, we were praying and we were courting and so forth. We didn't get into a relationship. We were having some serious conversations. Buhle had a list of questions that she would really really tormented me with questions. She would come back and with a brand new list of questions, and then I would answer her questions, and she had more questions. She would really scrutinize me like crazy.
Oh, but it was helpful because by the time we got to the part where I actually brought up his name to my parents, especially my father. I never say father. To my dad. My dad was asking the exact same questions that I had asked him. I just needed to know everything. So by the time my dad was asking me these questions, I had answers to everything. I knew everything. I had answers to everything. And so it made me look kind of, good, because he didn't think that I was messing around or anything like that. He actually trusted the fact that Lunga and I had something genuine and mature going on, rather than, playing around or some crush. So that was really helpful for me, because I really wanted to know why you were in my life, what you were doing, what you're all about, because I didn't want to waste time, essentially. Do you know what I mean? And
we actually made it clear. Sorry, I didn't cut you off. No. So we made it clear as well from the start, when we just were courting, that if she got into a relationship or I got into a relationship, we're not into this exploring stuff. If she would get into a relationship, she would get into a relationship that would lead to marriage. Same thing as me as well. So we just made that really clear to each other. And then at the conclusion of the 6 months or so in which we were courting, and then I came I used to really every now and again I would ask her, do you still believe that God pointed you to me? And unshakenly, she would actually say yes. She was unshaken, and she was just completely sure. And so forth. So we came to the point where we thought, okay, now I think it's time we actually took the next step, or we actually got into a relationship. But then again, we decided that, okay, we will not just get into a relationship. We will not do this apart from the knowledge of our parents. And we decided that before we get into a relationship, we would tell our parents. And so Buhle told her parents. You told the parents first? And so she told the parents. And then I told my parents. Mind you, my parents knew her because she used to attend my home church. But her parents did not know me. So I was at a disadvantage in a way. And secretly, in my heart, I don't think it's something that I actually articulated, but it was just my own personal, private thing. My mindset was, if her parents do not accept me, I will not be able to go ahead with the relationship. Even though I truly believed that, God had pointed to me as the answer to her prayer. But somehow to me that was really important. I think it has to do maybe with also what I had read in the Spirit of Prophecy about the blessing of the parents and their approval. And I guess I thought that was going to be part of, of the confirmation to me that God was in this, if her parents accept me. Long story short, our parents approved. But with her, it was really, really quick. My parents, because they knew her and they loved her. My mom just loved her. As soon as I told them that, what was happening, what we were intending to do, my mom just had a really giant smile on her face. And my dad told me, and my dad told me the reason why my mom was smiling, because she had confided in him that if there would be like a female that she would love seeing me getting married to, would be her. And so basically it was almost like her dream was coming true. And then on the other side, her parents, it was not that easy for her dad to just allow his innocent daughter to just date some guy he did not even know. Story short, God had already had a plan of how he was going to reconcile me with her parents. Basically, God actually led me to go and do volunteer ministry in the Northern Territory, which happens to be where her parents live. And so when I actually went and I had to look after a church for about 6 weeks or something, and then her mom, was talking to me quite regularly, just briefing me on how to relate to the Aboriginal people and basically how to do ministry to them, how to interact with them. And her dad as well started to open up and just have more confidence in me. And so that's the plan that God actually utilized to get her parents to have confidence in me. So,
How did you propose?
how did I propose? Interesting.
He proposed by the traditional way, where he goes and asks for a hand in marriage. And I was not there when they discussed what they discussed and gave what they gave each other with my parents, but them three know what they did. So that's how he proposed. And that's next question. Oh, the answer is right there. How long have we been married?
Is it on 8-9 months?
Which one? Which one? Is it 8 or is it 9?
Well, we've been married since September of last year.
9 months and 13 days.
So 9 months and 13 days. Yeah, that's pretty much how long we've been
That's
married.
how long we've been married. What were our expectations before marriage for one another?
May I actually allow you to go first?
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah.
My expectations were that we were gonna be living in a very blissful world where no arguments exist. Not arguments, disagreements exist. Where your other person telepathically knows what you're thinking and they should know how to tailor themselves to you.
Wow.
And cater for you rather, and vice versa. And what else? I just thought we would be living in like this, I don't know, cute little bubble, with one another, and that we would just continue to be lovey-dovey, awesome people.
I'm honestly don't really.
You didn't have any? Wow.
Well, I did. Okay, let me just. I think it's a broad question. There's a lot of things,
What did you think life was gonna be like, us being married, you and me living together, doing life together?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, when we were courting, Buhle and I, we actually got along quite well. We got along. I still have the text. We usually have like long text conversations. And our very first conversation that we had when we were courting, the very first conversation over the phone, and we did most of our courtship over the phone, obviously, was like 9 hours. That's our first conversation. That's because she and I really connected like this, and we got along, and we actually we really thrive in each other's presence and so forth. And so we were friends pretty much. And so my expectations was that was going to continue. And my expectations were that she and I were really going to. I did have a lot of expectations. Now it's coming up that I'm actually while I talk.
I helped you rephrase the question.
So the expectations were that she and I were going to encourage each other in the Lord. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying that? Yeah. So that we were going to encourage each other in the Lord, and really, I expected that we were both going to initiate devotions, and we were both going to really keep each other accountable with our spirituality, and that also we're going to keep each other accountable as well with practical things, chores and just support each other. In our daily tasks. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, that's what so we would support each other spiritually, and we would support each other practically as well, whether in terms of career and studies and so forth.
Okay.
And there was a time when we were both studying. Hey.
No. Not when we were married.
No, well, 6 is talking about expectations.
Yeah, so that those were your expectations then?
That we were actually going to support each other as well with our studies. Keep each other accountable and so forth, yeah.
Okay. And has it been the same after marriage? And I guess would say how? Have your expectations been the same after marriage? If so, how? No. Hardcore no. Strong no. In a good and in a bad way, because I think when you're not married, when you see someone on a surface level, not that the talks that we used to have prior to being married were not of substance, but because you only see them in the good parts of their life, when on a date or on the phone, they're not going to be moody or frustrated, whatever the case may be. You always see the best. So even though that a human is made up of such different emotions and all, there's just some part in your mind that just switches off to that when you're still dating, and you just think this person is just so amazing, and you think you can accept the way they are holistically, but not up until you live with them. And for me, I think that's the thing that changed, to realize this person, they're their own person. They can and they're allowed to make their own decisions. They have their own habits. They have their own way of doing things. Their communication is different to mine. Their love language is different to mine. Even their apologizing language is different to mine. And so all those conversations that we had prior got me to realize I didn't know this person as much as I thought I did. And I'm sure you would agree the same way, that you thought you knew me, but we barely knew each other. We had barely scratched the surface. And it's only now that after months and months, we have now started to realize the beauty of like, our differences, and that you can, like, I cannot expect him to be this type of person that I have always wanted him to be, because the same way he's new to being a husband is the same way I'm also new to being a wife. We've neither done it before. So the way it has changed me is to kind of just step back and just, you know, let life be, let him be, to let us, you know, flourish as individuals, but in ways that will help us both as a team. So I think that's what has kind of changed for me. Yeah.
So for me, pretty much not everything was new. Not everything came up during our marriage. We were both acquainted with some of the traits in our character and in our relationship which we needed to work on. You know, for instance, and there were instances where, you know, during our courtship, I felt, I wish, you know, Buhle was born like this, or I wish, and she, of course, vice versa. And our main frustration with each other, what was this? Devotion. Yeah, devotion. So Buhle is very laid back, and she was pretty much very happy with me, and she to take the lead in stuff, and then she would happily, you know, accommodate me and support and everything. But somehow in me, I always had this desire for her to also sometimes take the initiative to initiate devotions and so forth. And you know, and so that's something that somehow I always wished for. And of course, that's the same thing as well that came up during our marriage as well. So it wasn't anything new, but it's something that we also had to deal with. The other thing as well is my personality. I'm a person who's very inquisitive and a person who likes to ask questions. You know, we mentioned to you that Buhle used to fire a lot of questions at me while we were courting, you know, so she can, just to get to know me and so forth. But guess what? I actually fired a lot more questions than she did.
No, but it's different though. Like, it's very different. Mine have an end to it. I asked them and that was the end. But yours are like on steroids. Like, they just endless. They go.
Yeah, I ask a lot of questions. I'm very inquisitive. You know, I was not always that way. It actually came to me as an answer to prayer, actually. And so I used to ask questions, you know, of her. And sometimes Buhle came to a point, and sometimes it didn't take much for her to get to that. You know, I noticed her personality. Buhle.
Which one are you answering again?
Me. I didn't discover too much new stuff during our marriage, which I was not familiar with before.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay, now I get
you. Yeah. So basically, I was saying, I would ask you questions and desire an answer, and then Buhle would put me on hold.
Yes, because I need to think. I'm a thinker.
Yeah, so that's the clash between us.
Yeah.
Me, I would ask a question and expect to answer like straight away, and then Buhle would put me on hold, and then I'll get frustrated.
Yes.
And I would actually find myself justifying myself, saying, "Well, it's not like I'm making statements. It's not like I'm shoving stuff down your throat. I'm actually asking questions, which is a good thing. So you should at least, you know, acknowledge that by giving me an answer." But then, and then I failed to be patient with her and accommodate her personality, because Buhle is the kind of person who, I process things very quickly in my mind. Buhle would ask me a question, I give an answer. You know what I mean? Not that I don't don't think through the question, but somehow I'm able to think through something reasonably quickly sometimes. And then I expected her to be like that. I was imposing it on her, and, you know, and that's a blind spot in me. I was expecting it to be a certain way, and I found myself getting frustrated every time she kept me on hold, and sometimes she would put me on hold and I would wait, and then the time for her to get back to me would come, and she would literally not get back to me. You know? And then when I bring it up again, she would say, "Oh, Lunga, you asked me that a while ago. I mean, let's move on."
Yeah.
So things like that.
Okay,
So this is the
next question.
So this was the case before we got married, and it's still the case today.
No, in saying that, it's not the same. I think I can give you props in saying that you have learned to not expect answers there and then.
Mm-hmm.
I think now say, because before you used to just get frustrated, and before I always used to get frustrated, like, why do I need to answer you instantaneously? Why can't I just let me be, let me think? But now it kind of works for the both of us, to a point where you ask me something, and then if I don't respond, then you are very what's the word? I don't know, you pay attention to the fact that I need time to think,
mm-hmm.
and then you let me think, and
mm-hmm.
then I think about it, and then we talk.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Moving on, cultural things that you have had to unlearn since you have two different backgrounds. So I'm Zimbabwean, he's South African. Cultural things, it's not like I had to unlearn, it's just a cultural thing that I decided, or that I learned not to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this, I think, in like the first week of our marriage, because back home we use totems for people. So I have my first name and my last name, and it comes with a totem. So my parents call me by my totem, you know, as a way of gratitude. Someone would say that totem in a way of praise or whatever. So I was used to that, and for me it was a way, it is still a way of endearment. If my parents use my totem towards me, I get really excited. It's very nice. And so I remember when I said it to him that I really enjoyed that kind of stuff, he didn't really take too well to it. He didn't really think it was as cool as I thought it was. So that's really the only thing, because our cultures are almost similar. They're similar but different.
Yeah.
I'm yet to face whatever it is going to come when we actually go to South Africa. But for now, I just have, that's the only one thing that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yours?
Well, Buhle has lots of mothers. Or she just calls everyone mother, you know. So that's part of their culture. She calls her mom, okay, mom, and then she calls her auntie mom. She calls my mom. Sometimes she would say to me, "Oh, I gotta talk to ma," and now I have to spend time figuring out who she's referring to.
I get mad if you don't figure it out.
Yeah. So that's quite an interesting one. And then.
Next one.
Oh, next one. Okay, let's move.
Some challenges you have faced as a couple and how you deal with them. When he says something, I'm like, no, I need to say something about, you know, but I had to learn that it's a brain in there, it's functioning, he's trying to tell me something. So whether I like it or not, I just really have to listen, and that way we can kind of communicate in the same conversation. Because sometimes, and I say this sometimes when we're talking with Lunga, where I get to a point, I'm like, are we in the same conversation here? Because I hear you saying this and I am saying this. And then we realize we're not even talking about the same thing. He's going on about his own thing and I'm like taking off that way. So taking that time to actually stop and listen has kind of helped me eliminate some of the drama that used to arise. You know.
So when it comes, back to this, me thinking she's ignoring me, or that, you know, me feeling like I'm being ignored or something. So that is something that when it has happened, when I have felt that way, it has really been a source of great frustration. You know, I would actually talk to Buhle and ask her something. Sometimes I felt like she would maybe even notice me, and sometimes I wondered if she heard me or not. But I would feel like she is not acknowledging what I'm saying, and she literally does not say anything in return. And so, and then I would ask, "Did you hear what I said?" And she said, "Yeah, yes." And then, she said, "Well, I'm doing this and that." And so that has really been a source of great frustration. And I would try to, because I'm very inquisitive. I wonder why. What is it in your mind, that makes you, feel okay with not responding when I ask a question, So I've always wondered, and then we've gone through this over and over and over and over and over again. Okay.
We're gonna have to.
So this is something that we're still we'll be working on, but by God's grace, of course, we go through these things. This is just one of the things that, of course, we have gone through, but. Until now, the things that we've gone through, they have not had the last word. They have not had the final say. We always work through stuff by God's grace. So, yeah, that's just one of the things.
How do you balance your marriage and work?
I can go first here.
Oh, you go first then.
Yeah, I'll go first. Now, with me, I'm a full-time student. I'm a student primarily. And not long ago, especially when I was living in Sydney, which was not long ago, I was doing Uber / Uber Eats. And it was quite difficult to balance that with my studies.
No, you said in marriage and work. How your work and our marriage, not studies.
Well, marriage, I guess I take this to mean just the activity in our marriage as well. How can
Uber?
Yeah, Uber. So while I had to spend quite a bit of time driving, Buhle and I just have this natural, tendency to want to talk to each other. So during my time doing Uber, I would call her, and then she would call me, and so forth. Just every chance we get to call each other, we call each other, and that actually has been a source of energy, that enables us to connect on that level. And then, of course, when we're together as well, we do chill.
I think we chill a lot. But that's another question. We'll get to that.
Okay.
And on my part, I think it's just that, when he wasn't doing Uber and I was off. Oh, we used to try and have it so that on my days off you don't work as well. So we would have this. See, your girl be thinking.
You're smart.
So. No.
She's a smart one.
Not really. I think
sometimes.
I think I'm street smart and you're more book smart.
Street smart. As in I'm street smart, but mine is more unassuming.
What?
So yeah.
What does that even mean?
It means just that. It's unassuming.
Okay, I don't know. Whatever that means.
Keep going.
So you're trying to prove the point that you're the book smart one.
Pardon?
You're trying to prove a point that you're book smart. That's why I can't
We're talking about street smartness here.
Okay.
Not book smart.
Okay. Anyhow, we used to try and make sure that we always had the same days off, so that on the days that he's doing Uber, I'm also working, and then when I'm free, then he's free, and then we can chill. And then next question is, are there times you make plans and work comes in the way? I think kind of, and that's why we decided that we're gonna have the same days off, so that you don't do things when I want us to hang out and I don't do things when you want us to hang out.
Doesn't get in the way of our marriage, is it?
Yeah, and work comes in the way. So times in which when we made plans for one another and then our work comes in the way. Yeah. How do you deal with people giving you opinions on how to do things as pastor na my pastor, as in ubaba lo mama. Ubaba lo mama.
Well,
lo baba pastor.
So far, we really haven't had to deal with those issues due to the fact that I only started placement literally this year.
During the lockdown.
Yeah, I literally started my placement this year. I only literally started doing Bachelor of Theology and Bachelor of Ministry this year. And prior to that, I was doing just Bachelor of Theology. I was just doing theology units, which do not involve a placement. That's a good background to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so and so because of that, I have not been treated as a pastor or and so forth, and of course, with the absence of that perception of me, comes the absence of the pressures that
Wow.
come along with that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I really have had no pressure so far.
Anyways, just to make his whatever answer short, no, not really. We haven't had any issues because we haven't actually stepped into that role. He has stepped into it as a student on placement, but there is an overall person who is still acting as a pastor. So he hasn't had to face the dramas, neither have I.
Yeah.
Now, some of the pressures that come with being a pastor's wife or pastor, how you deal with them. Technically, we don't really know the pressures.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, in summary, I can say a lot of people just expect you to be some perfect being. Already, I just see some people, if I dress a certain way, or if I say something, or if I look a certain way, or whatever, the way I hold myself, a lot of people, sometimes in a joking way or whatever, they'll mention like, oh, you as a pastor's wife or as an upcoming pastor's wife, are you even supposed to be doing that, or should you be doing that, or should you not be doing this, or whatever the case may be. So I just feel like people put you on some level which I'm not really a fan of, because at the end of the day, I am also human. We both are. We will struggle with stuff, and the ultimate person and being to look up to is Jesus, and not to put your esteem in other people. So with that in mind, I hope that will keep me going when the real thing starts.
Mm-hmm. The role both our families have played in our marriage. I'm interested to hear how you would answer that.
Compass in our lives, that's the role that I think they play.
That's a very strong word, a compass. So they're the ones that give us direction. That's very strong.
Oh God, well, God is the compass, but they are like human compasses, because I feel like God still gives you people that can help you, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Good one. For me, I'll just first talk about, I guess, just briefly about my mom and then Buhle's parents, my impressions basically that I receive, that I've had, or I have of them. When it comes to my mom is very, she's very reserved. And so sometimes when I feel like, oh, my mom, I feel like she, I don't know whether it's just the son, her son in me, desiring that, oh, mom, I wish you could just give me more advice, speak your mind. Because I know she has a lot of experience, and mom is my friend, we talk. We're very close to each other, and so sometimes I felt like, oh, Mama, I wish you would say more. And it's not that she's aloof, but she's very conscious, that I don't want to come across too strong. I don't want to interfere in your marriage, things like that. But as soon as I actually ask her a question or say something, she's very good at responding, and she's very eager to give advice and so forth. But until I do that, I feel like she's usually quite. Sometimes I feel like, she would, take the initiative. Then when it comes to Buhle's parents, I feel like Buhle's parents are very, very, very communal. They're very hands-on.
Oh, that kind of scared you a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, so especially her dad. I remember just the very first time we moved in together after our wedding, he was literally calling us every morning. He was calling us every morning, asking, "So have you eaten?" Literally every morning. Yeah, so which is quite, it's really, really a privilege to have people who care so much. So I think that's quite a good. My mom, of course, my dad passed away not long ago, in January, and so that's why I'm only referring to my mom. So just to have both parents, my mom, being reserved, and with his parents being more hands-on, it's quite a privilege to have that, and I think it balances each other out. Yeah.
And while we dated, did anyone put pressure on both of us in any certain way? Or to be a certain way?
Ladies first.
No. I think I put pressure on myself. But I don't think anyone in my family put pressure on me in any certain way. Oh, maybe my grandma. If she can't. No, she's the one that was just concerned about, us when we were going to get married, because she wanted us to maintain our purity and all those things. So she didn't want us to wait too long to be married. Otherwise, things were going to go bad. But I think everyone else was kind of going on our timeline of when we're ready, whenever that is.
Yeah.
But I never felt pressured that I needed to be a certain way or do things in a certain way. I felt like your parents, like Ma, was quite respectful. Even your dad, like he was quite respectful of our relationship, and even who I was as a person, the decisions that I made, the decisions that you made. I never felt like, maybe even like when we were praying to get married, like that was the only time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was something. I don't know whether this qualifies as pressure or something. But I remember that Buhle and I, there was a time when you and I would have actually, if according to our preference, because we, with this country living thing, which is a different story as well. We thought, okay, July would have been the best time for us to get married. Well, of course, we ended up getting married in September. But then there was a time where my parents actually raised quite a really, really, not a good objection, but it was not basically how we would have liked to have things happen at that time. So I don't know whether it qualifies as pressure. For example, we told them, okay, we're intending, due to this and this circumstance, we'd like to get married in July. But then they actually said that, I might have actually it might have slipped my mind what they said, but they had a reason that they gave us
of not getting married.
Of not getting married in July, neither in September actually.
Because Dad was supposed to finish uni in end of last year, and so that was during his semesters, and it was just very close. No one was going to be able to come, and how are we going to do it financially and things like that. So in that case, that was probably the only time that I remember that there was an actual problem.
Yeah, he raised up the career thing because he thought, it would be better for me to complete my studies and then get a job and a career and then get married and so forth. So
guess that was the only time. How you support each other in your careers?
In our careers.
How do you support me in my career, Lunga?
I wonder if you allow me to support you.
That's true.
I'm joking. Yeah, so I know Buhle.
You do support me. You're the one that said I need to go back to uni. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I did tell you to go back to uni, but I also told you something else as well. Just recently.
Okay.
But what I want to talk about though, what I wanted to talk about was I always try to see how I can cover you here and there, especially I remember when you were we moved here. When we moved to Kurumbong, Buhle was still working in Sydney, of course. Had her relatives in Sydney, and so she would stay at their place and then drive to work. And she'd be in Sydney for at least 4 days, and then come back with me. Come back and join me here at Kurumbong when she was off duty. But then when she would be doing night shift, and she told me some of the issues she would be facing, such as she would need to actually catch the train, right? You couldn't use the car because it was just the dynamics were complicated. The logistics were complicated, and so I was offering to even come and stay at auntie's and be driving her to work, but she didn't allow me to do it.
Oh, at least you played your part. That's how you supported me in my career.
And so things like that, pretty much, and even here, we've talked about when she does night shifts, I'll be actually driving her. I'll be driving her to work at night, and then I'll pick her up in the morning.
How I support Lunga in his career.
My studies.
I guess studies at this point. Oh, I try to keep him accountable in terms of time management. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
No, I think because I'd like to think I can be a very organized person. So I try to help him, I've got you like a planner that you don't use. Talk about that later. No, I'm just kidding. Just to help you stay on top of your stuff, keep you accountable, ask you questions, what he's up to, kind of thing. And I think the move that we did to move from Sydney to here was just basically me supporting him in that pathway, so that he can be closer to uni, closer to studies, closer to his places of placement. I think that's all we have to say about that.